Well, it looks like Robbie Starbuck did it, or at least that's what it appears. And Harley Davidson released a memo, I guess is the best way to put it, at around noon yesterday afternoon. I just want to say that we were tracking some of the stock market yesterday. As some people know from the Twitter account, we took a position in Harley Davidson, and the reason for that is because we wanted to actually have some say and start building a movement into what the board does, or in the CEO who becomes CEO. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, you just did this video. The first video I did on this was about BlackRock and Vanguard and all these other places that are DEI, pro DEI hedge fund companies. And that's true. But the registration of our dissatisfaction should be made. I know a lot of people did some things that we totally disagree with, and that is burning their bikes, but also they sold their stock, which is probably one of the most imprudent things you could do, because then you totally don't have any say in what the company does. Now, even though there's a lot of us who bought shares who are going to be only really going to have a small effect, we at least put ourselves in a position to do something. And so that's going to be done. A lot of people probably don't understand. There's, in some ways, if you've played with the stock market at all, you know that if enough minority shares are accumulated among shareholders, among people of like mind, then they can actually place things up for a vote that overrules the board. So that's part of the strategy. Now, I'm going to say a little bit about Robbie Starbuck in just a minute, but really, to be honest with you, let's go through the memo. And I'm just going to tell you up front, a lot of people think this is a win. I do not. I'm pretty skeptical about this letter, and there's a lot of people who are too. And I think there's a lot of people waking up in terms of, Robbie Starbuck's effect, which I'll say a little bit about towards the end of the video. I'll try to make this short. Not going to be as long as the first video, which was too doggone long. I totally understand that. Had some criticisms, and that's great. I will also just want to give a shout out, by the way, to Unwoke Harley Respecter, who on Twitter, who, has really, really been just a demon. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, like in a speed way on this issue. And he's pointed out not just the problems with Robbie Starbuck, but the problems with the whole idea of DEI, which I do admit he picked some of that stuff off of me. And so, we've had a little bit of a relationship. So anyway, I just want to look at this, memo. Okay, so they start, I'm not going to read everything here, but they start off talking about the 120 years of Harley Davidson. And let me just state that, in general, the guiding principle, United We Ride, is just fine. But the second paragraph is kind of a red flag. And they state that we are saddened by the negativity on social media over the last few weeks, designed to divide the Harley Davidson community. Well, you know what? You guys caused that yourself, to be quite honest with you. And for those of us who have known about this forever, and I mean since 2020, about what Harley Davidson is doing, this is, Robbie Starbuck did popularize all of this. But this is old news. So the division comes from Harley. So that's the first thing to say. The second thing to say is that you notice they don't take responsibility here. They're blaming the Harley customer for the negativity. Now, you could say, well, this is directly related to Robbie Starbuck. Yeah, sort of. I mean, it's been going on for years, to be honest with you. So the company blames their own customers, it seems, in some way, and I think that's a big problem for the company. As a company, we take issue very seriously. It is our responsibility to respond with clarity. They don't do that. Action, we don't know if they've done that. And facts, they don't really bring the facts. So problem number three probably is that, yeah, you say something, but there's no evidence that you're doing the things you say. So earlier in the year, they say they initiated a stakeholder review to better align the community. Let's go through what they say they did. Diversity, equity, inclusion is the first, of course. And we see that the leader's role is to ensure we have an employee base that reflects customers and the geographies in which we operate. What the fuck does that mean? Geographies in which you operate. It is critical to our business that we hire and retain the best talent and that all employees feel welcome. That's it, except whites, of course, right? They literally made whites feel uncomfortable in their company. Way to go, guys. No admission of that, by the way, in this. That said, we have not operated a DEI function since April 2024. Then why did you have it on your website? Seriously. So they say they don't have hiring quotas and they no longer have diversity spend goals. Now, in the that's pretty much picked up in sponsorship and affiliations, which you see right here that I'm circling. They're going to get rid of Bergs. Let's go to the sponsorship and affiliations. They're relooking at everything, and they state here in this bullet point 1 with the open circle that all activities will be centrally approved and managed efforts through the company and the foundation. The brand will focus exclusively on growing the sport of motorcycling to retain their loyal riding community and support first responders, military members, and veterans. That has nothing to do with the issue, supporting veterans and first responders. The issue is the woke drift of the company itself. You'll notice here that they're avoiding all of that. They're really avoiding anything in terms of what they are going to actively do. It's kind of hard to say. This is kind of mealy mouth stuff, really, is what I'm hearing. I'm sorry, I have a little headphone issue. Now, Harley-Davidson will not participate also in HRC scoring going forward. That means basically DEI scoring and whatnot. Now, that's the only thing they say they won't do, really. It's the only definitive statement we have here. So they're going to continue to train employees to ensure they're right for the workforce. They talk about having an employee and customer base that is broad, and that they'll listen to all members of the community and continue to make Harley-Davidson a great brand. I don't know what to say here, but this is a lot about nothing. There's no apology. There's no responsibility taken. And I think this is a big problem. I think this is a letter that was, appropriately, I think, in some sense, a response to Robbie Starbuck. But it doesn't say anything. And the not saying anything, and for those of you, hopefully, who have been around the block on this a little bit, you're going to know that this really is not a letter that seems to sit well. It doesn't appear to go far enough. And so I really kind of want to, somebody on Twitter had a comment, which is exactly spot on. If you remember my first video, I had a clip from the movie Harley and the Davidsons, and it was meant to honor the history of Harley that I think exists still in many of its riders, probably a majority of Harley-Davidson riders. So the reason why they're drawn to the brand is because of the history. And that history is it's not just, hey, we built a cool motorcycle. It's the character of the men and the wives behind them who built that company against all odds. There's a great part, by the way, in Harley and the Davidsons where they go, I think it's an endurance race, they called it back then. and they tried to kick Harley out because they knew that their V-twin was much better than, in particular, Indians. And the head of Indian, the history of Indian is really kind of murky. I'll have to do a video about all this or something, maybe I should let Unwoke Harley Respecter do some posts on this, and or just let him know about this. Something that the history of Indian. There's a decent sort of book about it. It's kind of it's a murky history. It's not as clear as Harley Davidson in terms of the company and when it was founded and who's involved and that type of thing. But the part of that movie that in that race, that endurance race, is Handy, who is the alleged sort of head of Indian at the time. Basically at the end of the race when Harley Davidson won, I think it was Walter Davidson that was riding the bike, and he said, "Sorry, you don't win. We're going to take you over," and that kind of thing. And Walter Davidson clocks them right in the jaw. Now that's Harley right there. So it's more than just the bike and the winning and the style. It's the grit from the people who built the company. So that backstory sort of confirms Buddy's post here on Twitter that I feel like the blank logo at the top of the letterhead says it all. Damn straight, that's it. You'll notice here that Harley Davidson, and this doesn't have anything to do with the woke so much, though it may be a part of it, that the bar and shield is now bare. Now, why is that? If you remember, the old bar and shield says Harley Davidson motorcycles on it. And and my comment to Buddy here was essentially the reason why they want to make the shield blank is because they want to remove the history of the Harleys and the Davidsons from the company. Once you separate them from the founding members of this company, you could say this politically, once you remove the American founders from the American founding of this country, well, then it's easier to destroy it. And so I totally believe that is what's going on here. And Buddy was very astute to point that out. I could not agree more. Now let's get to the Robbie Starbuck stuff. Starbuck, of course, this is the problem with some of this stuff. On the surface, if you don't look at it, if you don't really read the letter, it's going to look like a win for Robbie Starbuck. And, in some sense, it's kudos to him, but he was quick to claim victory, of course. No more DEI functions. The letter doesn't say that. No more supplier diversity spend goals. As you know, if you read it along with me, the memo doesn't say that. They'll no longer participate in HRC scoring. That's true. We finally got the third point's finally true. Sponsor activities are changing, yes, but we don't know how it's changing, and if they're still going to fund Babes Ride Out or something like that. But Starbucks is, I guess, saying that it's going to end. No more woke trainings. They never said that in there. They never said there wouldn't be woke trainings. Anyway. Robbie Starbuck claims this is a win, and here's the coup de grace on this. He had several posts on this. When he wins something, he posts it over and over and over. And then he even, some people who are generally, they're MAGA, they're on the right side of this issue, they'll post, yay, Robbie Starbuck did it again, the Hodge twins and Cernovich. But those guys really, it's what you call confirmation bias in the academic world. Oh my gosh, he did something, and that supports generally what we think without really looking deeply into it. It's confirmation bias. Anyway, Robbie Starbuck said, we did it again, 3 for 3. You did nothing. It's just, I don't know what to say. I just don't think it's a win. I think that it's something, maybe, but to be honest with you, the people are going to have to see this. They're going to have to see what Harley Davidson did. Now, if you look at these two posts on Robbie Starbuck's Twitter page, you should look at the comments. The people are finally getting wise to this. I think that the unwoke Harley respecter has done a good service, because most of the people, actually, to be honest with you, I think it's about half, maybe half of Robbie Starbuck's readers are saying he's full of shit, and we haven't won a damn thing. And they're exactly right. They're exactly right. Remember what Robbie Starbuck said? He bitched about Thailand and how Harley's moving over shores, and he bitched about the CEO and how the CEO has to go. None of that has happened. The board is still there. The CEO is still there. Harley is still doing their electric crap in a different company, but Jochen Zeitz is still supporting it, and Jochen Zeitz is still there. This is not a win. This is not a win, and I think that's a cheap stunt to claim that you are victorious, when in fact the problem still remains, folks. There's no way that a company with a board who put all this woke stuff in and this DEI stuff in is just all of a sudden going to change their personal opinions and not try and fight for it. What have they really given up? What is the actual win that made Harley suffer in this case? And I submit to you the answer to that is a big fat goose egg. Nothing. What they have done is release it's not even a strongly worded memo. It's a weak memo to try and get around the fact that a lot of people were finding out about this. They were caught, and now they have to do some, what's the word? They have to do some, publicity management to to assuage over the anger. But you know what? Astute people, if you look at Robbie Starbuck's 2 posts, man, I'll tell you what, his readers are not buying it, and kudos to them. I want to just add one more thing. This was noted. I forgot who it was noted by. I might have picked it up first, but maybe Unwoke Harley Respecter did, and a few other people also. Cycle Drag is a great little website. He talks mostly about motorcycle racing, but he had these great. This year, he went to Sturgis. And he is the first one, I think, to really talk about what was going on in the Harley tent. There's 2 things to note here. I'm not sure how long I'll play this, but we'll at least get to the Indian part. That the tents were empty, but not totally. And by the way, that's not just Harley. So let's rewind just a little bit. There's two people, the Quartering and Robbie Starbuck, no shock, who said that the tent of Harley was empty. And, I knew that was bullshit from the beginning because I had seen Prime Cut Pro and whatnot who drove by, and they had, some evidence in video from far away that the tent wasn't completely empty. The second part of this is also, I think Prime Cut Pro or MDub, I can't remember which one, had a very nice close-up of Black Hills Harley Davidson. That is the distributor, or not the distributor, but the local Harley dealership in Sturgis, and they were packed the entire time. Black Hills Harley Davidson was packed. I think that undermines the statement that Robbie Starbuck and the Quartering made, that the tent was empty, and Starbuck in particular said that he was responsible for that. But all of that is bullshit, and this is part of the reason why I am very wary of Robbie Starbuck, because he pretty much misled his readers.
The Quartering, shout out to them, massive following, massive views, but there were some things in that video that I dispute. The title of that video was Harley Davidson gets humiliated at Sturgis. I do not think Harley was humiliated, and I'll tell you why. First, guys, let's give you a little bit of the backstory. Right now, Harley Davidson is accused of going, quote unquote, woke. This is directed mainly towards their CEO for being aligned with LGBT activism issues, climate change issues, and also DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. One of the problems I had with the video...
By the way, I just want to step in here real quick. It's not empty. It's clear it's not empty.
From the Quartering is that they said the Harley tent was empty. They said nobody's visiting it. They said it was a ghost town. But look behind me. You can tell there's not a ton of people, but there are people in there. There's customers. There's people checking out new bikes. And here's the big point I can tell you is boots on the ground. And this is why you have to be here as a reporter. Shout out to that gentleman who presented that video, but he's not here. He was in an office. I'm boots on the ground. What you have to remember, and I'll show you this to prove it, none of these.
Aha. Now, I have a real problem with Starbucks, in particular, Defensive Indian. And you'll notice what... so in the news world, in the journalism world, lies of omission are just as important as outright lies. And Robbie Starbuck had a lie of omission here. He said that Indian was rolling. Indian is great. Indian is not woke. Indian is totally USA made. All of that shit is a lie.
From Indian to any of them are getting much foot traffic. They're not elbow to elbow because we're here at Sturgis. We're here at the biggest motorcycle rally of the year. Arguably up there with Daytona, that's for sure. What's everybody doing at Sturgis? They are riding their motorcycles, or they're probably sitting in a bar, having a drink, listening to some music, or grabbing a bite to eat. So I don't think it's a fair representation, because if you look now, it's Thursday, and it's sprinkling right now, and we still have some people in there. I wouldn't say it's completely empty, or Harley's getting humiliated.
Yeah, that's it. So, on some level, I really do appreciate what Starbucks has done. But as I said before, the folks at Demon's Row really drove this a long time ago. And while it was popularized by Robbie Starbuck, I believe that the way it was presented, he does not understand this community. He is not even a Harley rider, and he's not even a motorcycle rider. So the hell with the Harley stuff. He's not even a motorcycle rider. And they sit in their big offices trying to get clicks and money from people visiting their site through the ad revenues that they generate on YouTube and on Twitter and whatnot. And who knows who also funds them. I have no idea who Robbie Starbuck is on the payroll of. And it's quite possible he's on the payroll of some people that he's propping up and whatnot. And so let me just leave it at that. But I like the truth, and I like, especially when it comes to the independent motorcycle shop, those people were affected. I'm not even talking about the Harley line workers that build the bikes. I'm talking about the indie motorcycle shops that were hurt by people lying online about what's really going on. As the Cycle Drag guy said, boots on the ground. You have to be on the ground, and you have to try, at least make an effort to be accurate. And I can tell you Robbie Starbuck is not accurate. So anyway, this is try and get back to regular garage stuff on this channel. But I thought it was important to point this out because we need to have all the information we can if we're going to proceed on this correctly and win. To be honest, for me, and I know Unwoke Harley Respecter has already said this, he's still going. This is not over. Robbie Starbuck might think this is over, but this is not over for people who really care about this community and want to save this company from really going woke. There's no wins now. There's only really a loss. And we'll see if this triage from Harley Davidson works. But judging from the comments on Starbucks' Twitter page, it seems that a lot of people out there are awake. And for that, man, hang loose. Good for you guys. Hang loose. We'll see you next time.